Om Nilambujasyamalakomalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panau Maha Sayagacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. We are in Ayodhya Kanda, verse number 30. And the context, the two boons of Kaikeyi and King Dasharatha. Is it good news or bad news? The news go on breaking, but we have to now decide. The portrayal of all this episode is in pathetic sentiment. In other words, Kaikeyi is viewed as someone, a terrible personality. And she is causing all that pain and suffering in King Dasharatha. But that's not all. The entire Ayodhya was filled with joy. And her role suddenly changed the whole, is going to change the whole scene. Stop all the joy. And King Dasharatha was feeling so joyous, brought to such shocking situation that he has no other choice but to pass away. Who did it? Kaikeyi. Led by Manthara, hunchbacked lady. But to give you advanced understanding, Kaikeyi is vichar movement. If you are joyous, everything is settled. If your mind is without vichar, without an activity of insight, is this the right situation? Is this the goal? Is being settled in the world where every desire of yours seems to be fulfilled? Is that the goal of life? Look at it from different angles. Firstly, that cannot be possible. In this world, you cannot have complete settlement. But here in Ramayana, most highlight is, in its highlighted theme of Ramayana is how to lead the soul to enlightenment. The entire Ramayana operates through every individual. A righteous soul, it is King Dasharatha, wedded to three modes of nature. Kaikeyi is inquiry mode. Tamas related. But tamas, when we are talking here, is from a very advanced point of view, not negative tamas. All the three modes are dynamic to lead the soul. Sattva operating as Kaikeyi, rather Kaushalya. Kaushalya comes from the word kushal, skill. The more sattva develops, there is more dexterity in your personality. And that aspect of nature promotes jnana, wisdom. Rama is jnana. Rama is jnana. Lakshmana is dhyana, meditation. Bharata is bhakti, devotion. Shatrughna is karma yoga, removing impurities. Impurities are the shatrus, enemies. They are destroyed by him. All these four must be integrated to have real Ram Rajya. But here Dasharatha, Jiva, suddenly rushes to have his fulfillment. And without consulting Kaikeyi, he just goes ahead, declaring Rama as the heir apparent to the throne. And declaring all that to the entire Ayodhya, he is going to make him successor. Entire Ayodhya becomes joyous. But it is not really mature level. Bharata at this stage is not even there in the scene. He is far away in his maternal uncle's place, maternal father's place, Kaikeyi country. That's where Bharata and Shatrughna, both away. So therefore, in divine plan, this cannot be the finality of Rama's story. So with keeping that in view, dharam dhurandhar dhir dhari, nayan ughare rai, sirudhuni lini ushasa asi, maresi mohi kuthai. King Dasharatha, who is always intent upon following the path of dharma, with great courage within his heart, with great patience, when he heard those two boons, his heart is already as if being pounded. King Dasharatha opened his eyes, beat up his head, took long breaths. All this poetic description. Sometimes what is best for you, due to your mind not being in healthy state, spiritually healthy state, what is best for you seems like a thunderbolt being dropped over your wonderful plan to go to different places, to have wonderful scenes and sights, and then someone destroys the plan. Later you realize it was good for you, you didn't waste all your energy. And the plane that you were going to catch was hijacked. I'm joking, but just to make you understand. Sometimes what appears adversity to a human being, if you handle it well and you emerge successful, you find yourself much more strengthened by your adversity. This doesn't mean that blindly you go on inviting adversity for yourself. No one wants adversity. But while you are doing the best, and still adversity sneaks into your life, handle adversity with the spirit of austerity, with the spirit that God has purpose, with patience. And if prosperity comes, that again should not delude you. You must realize now you have no complaint against doing sadhana, doing a Godward movement. More the mind is free from external worries. Allow that mind to be intelligent. Go after the biggest treasure, not ordinary transient things of the world. So prosperous condition gives you that opportunity to look for the biggest prosperity, which is enlightenment, devotion to God. So don't lose a moment of your joyous condition without having your eyes set upon the highest goal. The simple way to understand: when you are happy, feel that happiness is relating you with God. God is the source of all happiness. Bring bhakti. So austerity, adversity and prosperity both become purposeful in the life of one who is following the path of enlightenment, or life of one who is living with awareness of purpose. Now let me follow on. So, King Dasharatha is in the state of utter frustration and shock, and that's brought about by lack of understanding. आगे दीखी जरत रिस भारी, मनहु रोष तरवारी उघारी, मूठी को बुद्धि धार निठुराई, धरी कुबरी सान बनाई. Kaikeyi appears as if anger personified is present. Here anger does not relate to ordinary anger, it relates to mental agitation, called krodh. Ka is your kriya movement, purusharth. When you are unable to do your self-effort in a right way, something blocks it. Ka with rodh. When ka has been obstructed, and that happens whenever your mind is agitated. Broadest understanding of krodh is not just anger. Something good has happened and you want to invite so many people, and in that you become so agitated in your mind. That agitation is also krodh. Dhyayato vishayan punsah sangasteshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho bijayate. Whenever mind has desire, out of that comes agitation, not just anger. Even fulfillment of desire or frustration, both are creating krodh, not in a not ordinary way. Both are creating agitation. So that type of agitation is seen in the personality of Kaikeyi through the eyes of King Dasharatha. So Kaikeyi is anger personified, holding a sword of wrath. Wrath comes out of the teeth. Kubuddhi is the handle of that sword. Kubuddhi means buddhi is intellect. Kubuddhi is what you expect through your intellect in a normal way. Normal way, you expect to be prosperous, expect to be happy, expect to keep everybody happy around you. But when the buddhi turns into what's the goal of life? Just like Buddha was quite set in a wonderful, prosperous situation, and suddenly it entered into his mind. Is this going to be fulfilling? Is it life meant for just to have enjoyment in the world? And that, of course, you understand, this is what leads people to become sannyasis and follow the path of nivritti. So Kaikeyi appeared like the personification of anger, and she is holding the sword. Sword to cut down your worldly fascinations. Sword of insight. Kubuddhi is the handle of the sword. Cruelty is the sharp edge. I have already told you, here the description is from the point of view of the masses, manda buddhi. So Kaikeyi is being painted as negative as possible. But in reality, not so. When anyone takes a steps towards attaining enlightenment and adopts acts of renunciation and vairagya, it appears to the masses as something very terrible has happened. This sword of, put it in a broad way, sanamati, sword of understanding, appears terrible for the masses. And for Dasharatha himself and for entire Ayodhya, that's how the story is, entire Ayodhya will have the impact. And how this sword has been fashioned, sharpened as the stone of the hunchbacked Manthara. Manthara was to make sit down, and her hunch was used to sharpen. Manthara is Prakriti movement, nature. Nature that has three gunas. And three gunas are not always in proper order, so she is hunched down. So that Prakriti led Kaikeyi, Vichar movement, to operate. And when that happened, the entire setting of joyousness brought about by unenlightened mind, the entire setting became disturbed. लखी बहीप कराल कठोरा, सत्य की जीवन लेही मोरा। बोले राव कठिन करी छाती, बानी सविनयता सुहाती। King saw this sword of Kubudhi. I will be giving you the literal meaning. To the king, this act of Kaikeyi and what she asked was so hurtful that it is impossible to describe it. He began to think, is she really going to deprive me of my life? Because to him, being separated from Rama is same as being dead. But you must realize Dasharatha and Rama, the relationship is soul in the stage of virtuous karma, and Rama, soul that is dynamic to attain enlightenment. So Dasharatha aspect must move away. In the storyline, the king summoning up courage within his heart. His heart was already in a shaky condition. He had to make much effort. With great humility, thought out, how can I please Kaikeyi, making her lovable. प्रिया बचन तस कहसी कुभांति, भीर प्रतीति प्रीति करिहाति। मोरे भरत राम दुई आँखी, सत्य कहूँ कर शंकर साखी. King Dasharatha says, "Oh dear one, oh gentle one, why are you saying these words? So hurtful, destroyer of trust and love. Don't you know? Bharata and Rama both are my two eyes. And in the name of Lord Shiva himself, I'm making this statement. अवश्य दूत मैं पठैब प्राता, अहि वेग सुनत दौ भ्राता. Surely I'm going to send my messenger to bring those two brothers, Bharata and Shatrughna, and they will come immediately. And on an auspicious day, I will give coronation ceremony to Bharata. लोभुन राम ही राजु कर, बहुत भरत पर प्रीति. मैं बड़ छोट विचार जिय, करत रहूं निप निप नीति. Rama is not greedy for kingdom, and his love for Bharata is immense. It was me who was adopting politics. The eldest one must become the king. Ram shapath sat kahau subhau, Ram matu kachu kaheu na kau. Swearing by the name of Rama, I'm telling you that I have not done this because Rama's mother conspired against you. Kaushalya has not led me to this decision. मैं सबु कीन है तो ही बिनु पूछे. I did all this without asking you because I had no way of thinking that you will not agree. Rather, it was kind of mentally imagined that Kaikeyi will be so pleased. Sometimes to dear one who don't say something good has happened quickly, but want to surprise. In that surprise, there is more endearing situation. In philosophical way, King Dasharatha planned all this without following the voice of inquiry. Kaikeyi is that voice of inquiry. You are not integrated. That's the inquiry says. You say, I have attained enlightenment. And the Spana says, I have attained Kundalini has risen. My head was filled with ecstasy. Dasharatha in you is not ignoring Kaikeyi, ignoring the subtle inquiry. And Manthara, the nature, will push you, if you are in the right course, to follow Kaikeyi's voice. So Dasharatha admits that without asking you, I did all this and now I have to pay for it. Now all my joyous wish is going to go in vain. Ris pariharu ab mangal saju, kuch din gaye bharat jubaraju. Give up your anger. Adorn yourself with all the joyous dress and clothes and ornaments. Just in a few days, Bharata is coming and he is going to be the heir apparent to the throne. Only one thing has put me into a state of agitation. Ajhu hridaya ujarat jahi aancha, ris parihas ki saache hu saacha. And my heart is burning as it were. Did you say it in joke? Or is it due to some type of anger you had? Or are you really meaning it? What is he referring to? That Rama should go into the forest for 14 years. And that also in sannyasi clothes, not having any possession, not having any wealth, nothing. Now, to understand more in a profound way, any decision you make within yourself Your decision is you are trying to follow what is good for you, what is right for you. You deal with three modes of nature. Tamas, inertia aspect in your personality, takes your wish in the form of a joke. Rajas in your personality takes it in the form of anger. It creates agitation. Sattva gives a right, leads it to the right path. Ris, parihas, sach. Tamas gives you, more precisely, tamas gives you ris. It gives you too much anger and puts you down. Rajas gives you a kind of a humorous. Rajas takes the situation away by humor, doesn't take it seriously. Sattva gives you the right course. You must realize these poetries they are not just ordinary. Ris parihas ki sache hu sacha. To learn that, anyone who comes to give you certain whole project to follow, look at his face. Are you doing it? Is it a ris? Is it a parihas? Or is it a such a, did you really mean it? You may not ask, but your mind should judge. Is the person who is giving you advice, is he giving you advice with a sincere heart? Is he sattvic? Then you follow the advice. If it is not, ignore it. Kahu tajiro shurama aparadhu, sabu kau kahai rama suthi sadhu. Tell me, what is the fault Rama has committed? For what fault should he go into the forest? Everyone says Rama is the most saintly personality. Tuhu sarahasi karahisi sanehu, ab suni mohi bhayehu sandehu. And you always loved Rama, praised him. And now I have developed out that all that you have been doing was just a big show of love of Rama. Jasusu bhau arihi anukula, so kimi karhi mati pratikula. His nature is such that he turns enemies into friends. Animosity bends down and melts before him. How could he cause hurt in your heart that you are ready to send him into this miserable forest? Heartless act through a tender-hearted Kaki. Vichar movement is very tender, soft. But what is leading you? Bhakti and jnana. Bhakti movement and jnana movement implies go through a whole process of dealing with mala, vikshepa and avarana. Whole dynamic movement of integration of personality and the destruction of ignorance and all related forces. It is then that Rama shines. प्रियाहास रिस परिहरि परिहरहि मांगु विचारु विवेकु यही देखऊं अब नयन भरी भरत राज अभिषेकु. Oh dear one, renouncing these three, has, ris and has is humor. Ris is agitation, anger. So renouncing these attitudes, come to the right course. We remember, I have all given the three words, has, ris and sach. Come to the sach state, sincere state. So that I can enjoy Bharata being the heir apparent to the throne. My eyes will feast upon that wondrous development. जिये मीन बरुबारी बिहीना मनि बिनु फनिकु जिये दुख दीना कहूँ सुभाव न छलु मन माही जीवन मोर राम बिनु नाही. Fishes can live without water, and a special snake that lives only because of a jewel that's towards its head. If the jewel taken away, the snake will not live. All these are, you don't have to go into details because this is not a biology lesson. This is my very nature, King Dasharatha says. I'm not hiding anything from you. My life will not exist if Rama is separated from me. Subtle point is there. Any spiritual attainment is not a kind of a worldly attainment. Worldly attainment does not change your nature. You can stay what you are and can go on multiplying your money. Spiritual movement is not attainment. If you are an angry person and you are in spiritual progress, the angry person must die. You can't have the angry personality saying, I have attained love. So Dasharatha and Rama can't go together. When Rama becomes the king, Dasharatha will not be there. Same Dasharatha has become Rama. You can't go backward. समझो देख खुजियां Priya Praveena, Jivan Rama Darasha Adhina. O wise, beloved, my life depends upon seeing Rama. These tender words spoken by the king didn't work. This Kumati Kaikeyi began to burn like fire. Just like someone has poured oblation into the fire with praise, and the fire blazes up. So what he did was oblation, and her fire blazed up. Kahai karahu kin koti upaya, ihan lagi rauri maya. Kaikeyi now says, you can adopt millions of tricks, but nothing of them will work. Don't consider me a shaky personality. Dehu ke lehu ajasuj kari nahi, mohina bahut prapancha suhahi. What I have asked, give. Don't want to give, say no. I don't like prapanch. Prapanch always understand the five. This whole world process is prapanch. And Kaikeyi, Vichar Buddhi, doesn't like prapanch. Satchit Ananda, name and form. Asti Priya Bhati. Everybody led by Asti. I am. Things that you possess, they are with you. Asti. Bhati, things that make you joyous, that light up your heart. Priya, you become so attached because the source of your happiness. All this is based upon the essential nature. Reality is Sat Chit Ananda. Led by ignorance, Sat plays the part of you're going after existence of transient objects. You're going after mundane values. But behind all that, Sat Chit Ananda is your reality. That reality is reflecting in your mind and becoming twisted due to ignorance. But Sat Chit Ananda plus name and form, mind creates illusions of concepts. If you buy a house, you have two factors. One, you have a paperwork that you hold as your proof that this house is yours. The paperwork type of movement is recorded in your mind. It's called name. You catch the name, and then you become involved with form. Form is completely outer aspect of your consciousness. So altogether, Sat Chit Ananda, name and form, called prapanch. And Kaikeyi says, I don't like prapanch. But put it more in order. I don't like your prapanch. राम साधु तुम साधु सयाने, राम मातु भलित सब पहचाने, जस कौशल उस कौशिला मोर भलता का, तस फलू नहीं देऊं करी साका। Ram is sadhu, he is a saintly person. You are sadhu. Ram's mother is also a saintly personality. I have recognized that. And whatever Kausalya has planned, I am going to oppose it. This is a kind of called Vyanga Vachan. It's not straight words. What she is mixing up, that Kausalya has done something wrong in allowing Rama to become king without even inviting Bharata. And that project of ours will not succeed. होत प्रातु मुन बेश धरि, जौन राम बन जाहि, मोर मरनु राउर जस, नृप समुझिय मन माहि. Tomorrow, very early in the morning, if Rama does not go to forest in saintly clothes, then I will pass on. I will die, and you will incur infamy. Your fame will be dumped. Again, philosophically, if Rama does not go, then the Jnana movement has died. And Raghuvanshi Vrat, that's the line of Rama, is Raghuvanshi. The vow is Jaan jaye baru bachana na jaye. Life may depart, but the vachan, once the resolve has been made, that resolve will not break. And all that relates to soul in a state of following Uttarayana, northern path. Once the soul has become involved in that, it belongs to Raghuvanshi, because Raghuvanshi means moving towards Uttarayana, described in this terms of northern course of the sun. All is allegorical. Agni, fire, is Vairagya. Vivek, Jyoti, Vivek, discriminative knowledge. Aha! Living your daily life with divine purpose. Your daily life becomes lit up. When you follow this, there comes purity of heart, Shukla. Heart becomes purified. The divine feeling, bhakti, begins to wax, shine. Now your consciousness goes beyond earthly bounds, and day, just like in solar is northern course, every day, daytime goes on increasing. Now consciousness in you goes on expanding until the soul blends with the sun. Sun implying Brahman. So it is that anyone who is come to that stage is solar Raghuvanshi, Suryavanshi. Surya becomes your goal. अस कही कुटिल भई उठी ठाढ़ी, मानहु रोष तरंगिनी बाढ़ी, पाप पहाड़ प्रगट भई सोई, भरी क्रोध जल जाई न जोई. The same Kaikeyi stood up with anger, as if a river of anger has become flooded. A river of anger that has originated from the mountain of pap, sin. This is given a contrary view from the point of view of the masses. This is the way Kaikeyi's movement looks like. दो बर कूल कठिन खट धारा, भंवर कुबरी बचन प्रचारा. And two boons. Kaikeyi movement is like a river. Two boons are the two banks of that river. Hatadhara, and her obstinacy is the current, the dhara, the way the river flows on. Whirlpool in the river is manthara. And this river is meant to break down the tree in the form of King Dasharatha. And the river is flowing towards the ocean of absolute adversity. This is very profound terminologies. Hatha-dhara, remember Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga that begins to prepare you. If in your life you have brought Hatha Yoga and Kubari, hunchback lady who creates vairagya, all that shakes the world tree to which King Dasharatha is attached. Tarumuladarsh not only shakes but plans to eradicate the tree of the world process. And Vipati Varidhi, ocean of negativity. Negativity is neti. Not this, not this. But not this, not in a simple way. Ocean-like. Boundless negation. That's where Kaikeyi has planned this situation has occurred. On one side, it is very terrible. The other side, people don't care for it. But the other side is hidden behind the negativity. If that were not so, Ramayana will not be In other words, if Rama had not gone to the forest, he won't be here listening to this. And who sent him to the forest? Kaikeyi. So be pleased. And with this we will conclude. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyant Ma Kaschid Dukhabhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramaya Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om.